Listen, my hair has been humbling me lately, from breakage to changes, inconsistencies, girl, all of the things. But instead of spiraling, I've realized that this is teaching me a lot about my pace and the relationship I have with myself. Let's get into it. I think it's totally normal to start neglecting something when it's not going your way. So even though I've been neglecting the channel, I have not been neglecting wash days, but something's definitely been off to the point where I needed to do some work behind the scenes. And this video is going to touch on the work that I did exactly for my hair and my heart. Not only did I notice this breakage in my kitchen area, like just thinning, I've just noticed my hair has not been the same. And honestly, having the evidence that your hair is not the same kind of makes it worse. My kitchen has always been a sensitive area, but I've also noticed my hair used to be so much longer, so much thicker, especially when I look even further back and I see how far my progress has came. But today we're gonna talk about that feeling when you look back and it feels like the progress is going backwards. And let's rewind a bit to when I first seen this breakage. I started going back to YouTube University like many of us, and I've realized it's super important to stay a student even when you become a teacher. To continue to learn from others is how you continue to elevate, as well as revisiting the basics, especially for hair care. But honestly, all of that, and it felt like something was still missing. And if I would let the world tell it, the problem was that I didn't have enough products. I didn't have the right tools. And don't get me wrong, there is a certain level up when you start buying maybe cleaner, more reliable ingredients, sometimes even more expensive brands. But let's also be aware that living in a capitalistic society, the solution will always be to want more, to get more, to understand that what you have right now is never enough. And while consumerism does such a beautiful job at distracting, it can only deflect from the real issue for so long. I think some distractions are healthy, but completely ignoring root issues will cause irreversible damage. Okay. So when I attend YouTube University on hair care, I like to pick up the things that stand out the most to me, that are repetitive, and one of those things was pre-pooing. And I am afraid that I slept on this step a little too long. But to be fair, there's a lot of trendy add this to your routine type habits that come and go. So your girl likes to wait a little bit before adding something new into her routine. And my favorite thing about this is you can make it your own. Whether you have time to cut up an aloe leaf, use your favorite cheap conditioner that's already in the stash, or just plain water just to get your hair ready to be manipulated and managed. Today I did have my African Pride pre-poo, which is at the perfect price, the perfect texture for this step. I was afraid of adding this step to my routine because I didn't want to add extra time. I didn't want to add an extra step for something that I wanted to be quick. I understand that sometimes wash days do need to be quick and sometimes we find ourselves rushing, but I don't want that to be all the time. And I want to hold your hands when I say this. Care is supposed to take time. Care is supposed to take hours, it's supposed to take days, it's supposed to take several years, to be quite honest, of consistency and presence and patience. During my hiatus from YouTube, I've seen how I've gotten lost in the sauce a bit of turning hair care into a performance rather than a practice. I've been expecting my hair to perform in a certain way based not on who I am, but how I see others succeeding, and thinking that's how my success should look. That being the longest, the thickest my hair can possibly be, but that's not my core goal. Of course, I'll take the thicker, longer hair because usually that symbolizes healthier hair, right? But I want that to happen organically. My real goal is to be on one accord with my hair care.
Connected to notanotherjasmine.
To take care of my hair and use it as this transformative routine. Not to stretch my hair to its limits, but to expand it to what it's actually destined to be. And for some, it'll never be this deep. But for me, I have realized what a privilege it is to be able to do my hair. Not everyone has the time, the energy, the money, the access, or even the physical ability to do their own hair. So when I get the opportunity to slow down and take care of my hair, that's something that shouldn't be rushed through. It's something that should be honored, something to be super grateful about. And honestly, girl, I've been starting to look at hair care more as a hobby than anything else. A hobby, simply doing something because you can, because you want to. Like painting, gardening, cooking. I want to be able to show up for this thing and not have pressure to do it, not measure it by the productivity, but something that I can just show up and enjoy and let it be what it is. But here's when that gets a little complicated. In this day and age, hobbies don't get to really stay hobbies. They turn into side hustles, they turn into brands, content, and with that comes competition for the attention, the validation, for growth, for success. Now, something that was supposed to give you a break from life's everyday rat race brings you into another race. And when you spend enough time online, listen, you start believing that everything in life should have an end goal, as if it's possible to reach this perfect routine, this perfect body, this perfect version of you, like it's some finish line to this life, when we all know the true finish line of life is death. And like I said, I'm tired of rushing to that. I'm tired of rushing towards anything, honestly, because after some really deep work from this year, it's been one hell of a year. I've noticed, I've reflected and became aware that me rushing, me trying to get to a certain outcome is me seeking control, me looking for certainty in this vastly uncertain life. I so quickly forget how everyone is out here winging it. Like, truly, no one knows what the is going on. But that doesn't mean we have zero control, but we can take the opportunity to focus on what we can control. Jumping back into wash day, one of those other things that I've seen a lot of the girls doing that are retaining length that I used to do is finger detangling. Not using as many tools. I know I got my clips in this video, but honestly, like, one of these clips is enough. Like, one of these clips will help me through the whole wash day. I just think they're just so cute and I just want to grab them all the time, but I need to chill because my fingers, they do so much more for me than a brush, a clip, a comb ever could. I want to get back to that practice of finger detangling. And so far, I've shampooed each section twice with 2 different shampoos and then followed it with one of Mielle's deep conditioners. All 3 quality products that I would highly recommend. Everything's gonna be in the description box, but please feel free to use what you got in the stash, shampooing twice, and then using one of your favorite deep conditioners. I mentioned earlier that having thicker, longer hair usually symbolizes healthier hair, but that's just not the full picture. Better yet, it's not the whole truth. It's like saying someone with a slimmer body is more in shape. Why is it that the beauty norm that's fed to us through representation has somehow crossed lines of what is beautiful is what is healthy, when health is so much more than results, it's relationship? I actually feel my hair is its healthiest after releasing length. I actually find it ironic that a lot of women, after getting shorter haircuts, find more beauty in themselves, more confidence. They find it more liberating than having longer hair. How we see beauty and health represented through media is not created with everyone in mind, which is why representation matters so much. It matters so much to the point that governments, societies, media, dare I even say, oppressors have gone out of their way to make sure certain people don't have certain representation. I'm gonna need another video for that one. Another part of that same expectation from society is this pressure to avoid aging. With aging comes thinner hair, less elasticity, different textures, and that's not to discourage you from having hair goals, but rather an invitation to a new perspective, to not look at your hair like some finish line you are supposed to reach. And I'm guilty of this. I am guilty of getting caught up in the results and not focusing on the relationship, and actually messing up my genuine flow state when I am washing my hair. I remember when I first started doing weekly wash days, the results were furthest from my mind. I was excited about being able to touch my hair every week, to feel the water running down my scalp, to dibble and dabble in new products, to cut as much hair as I wanted to cut off, to make a mess with products, to have something to myself. Especially when I grew up having very limited choices about my hair, not even having to say so when I can wet my hair, having to get permission to jump into a pool. So being able to bring that much joy into hair care that I've never experienced before, and then having the after effect of my hair actually flourishing and enjoying this journey with me, so much so to the point random strangers would come up to me and ask me what I was doing to my hair. And that really inspired me to make this YouTube channel, to contribute to the story that you can find so much love, joy, confidence in learning how to do your own hair. But like I said, once you turn a hobby into something you're trying to monetize, eventually it subtly and quietly brings in these analytics, measurements, comparisons, not only to other people and what they got going on. It allows you to access this whole library of older versions of yourself. And honestly, you don't even gotta be a content creator to experience both of those things. Speaking even before YouTube and now, my phone got so much photos eating up too much storage of the past. It's so crazy how much of the past we can access with today's technology. But listen, for my girls that are out here making content, hair content, beauty content, honestly, it doesn't even really matter. Please understand and be aware of how social media is used for us to look at everything on the surface. How pretty is your hair? How clear is your skin? How small can your waist get? But it doesn't require you to do inner work. And I realized I stopped doing the inner work. I was showing up for wash days for content, not because I was in relationship with my hair. I was more concerned about how it looked rather than how it was doing. And I cannot operate like that. And let me tell you why you should not either. Because eventually it will come to the surface. I was undeniably upset about my hair, and seeing the breakage, seeing it thinning, and just its overall health not being where it used to be, like, or it's simply not flourishing the way I wanted to. And I think a lot of Black women and girls come to this feeling at least once in their life because there's such a unique experience of learning how to take care of Black hair that is so unique, so versatile. Our hair really needs devoted attention and time and love. And I think it's so beautiful when we see harmony happening in our community, and that's why we have the natural hair community, to encourage, to motivate, to support each other in something that is unique to us. But a lot of the content doesn't always lean into the harder, harsher realities of what this journey actually looks like. Not unless it's a complete horror story, but most of the time content is centered around perfection, what looks the best, what performs the best, what can get the most views or attention. When everything becomes about results, we start overlooking the real parts of the process. And sometimes that looks like breakage, thinning, not touching your hair, or sometimes wearing styles that look nothing like the tutorial you watched, or simply trying to love your hair through a season where it is not doing what you want it to do. I believe leaning into the breakage, into the tension, will do so much more for me in the long run instead of trying to avoid or ignore it. So, long story short, whatever is irritating you about your hair, making you uncomfortable, making you insecure, whatever is disrupting your regular scheduled programming and forcing you to slow down, it's inviting you to do some inner work, some shadow work, to become closer to the version of yourself that you dream about. And of course, continue to do the skincare, the self-care, the hair care. But is heart care on your list? That sounds mad corny, but it's important. It doesn't mean have all the answers. It means to ask more questions. I was spiraling, thinking that, okay, maybe this YouTube thing is not for me since I'm performing in a way that's actually hurting me. But I just needed a second to realize who I actually want to be on this channel, and that's someone that doesn't shy away from the tension or the breakage, and someone that's not performing for perfection, someone that's not performing at all, y'all. I'm so tired of performing. That's why I had to take a break and really sit in the silence, sit with myself to figure out who I wanted to be on this channel. But I ain't going nowhere. And I honestly have so many more ideas for 2026. So I really hope that you are subscribed so you can continue to join me for the journey. I got so lost in the soul work, I forgot about the hair care, y'all. I did a really simple wash and go routine that I've always done. It was important for me to go back to products that I know that I enjoy, but I am different. My hair is changing, and wash and goes that used to hit for me, they're just not hitting the same. So more on that to come. And real quick, in addition to pre-pooing and finger detangling, I am making it my mission to stop pulling on my hair. I feel like when I wear wash and goes, I'm like always scrunching at it, pulling at it. Like I am being very intentional about not touching it and putting it up and away, as well as not being afraid to add some water and product throughout the week. But again, more on that to come in future videos. A quick recap before you go. I think, yes, healthy hair, or matter of fact, health in general, is not about what it looks like. It's about how it responds. Health is relationship, not results. Growth is not linear. Your hair will change because you are changing. And that's very human of you. Not only is it dangerous to chase past versions of yourself or other people's results, it's impossible to maintain. When something is irritating you, challenging you, better yet, scaring you, do not run from it. Do not avoid it. because it could be the very doorway that is going to lead you to the next level of yourself. Thank you so much for being here with me today, and hope to see you next time. But until then, so much love, so much peace. Deuces. I would love to know your thoughts on this video. I cannot believe I spoke for almost 20 minutes, yo. I bet you've never seen a sponsorship at the end of the video, but shout out to today's sponsor, Not Another Hair Care. Not only have I been loving these clips, I find a new reason why I like them every single day I use them, but I've also been getting amazing feedback and also questions about when we're gonna restock certain colors. But listen, read them while you can. Also, there's a weekly newsletter very similar to my videos, but in an email format. You can sign up for that completely free. Use Not Another 20 code when you check out for 20% off your entire purchase. Thank you so much for your support. All right, deuces.